Welcome to Fairy and Mermaid Magical World. Today we hear the story, The Tiny Princess, Thumbelina's Adventure.
Once upon a time, there was a woman who lived alone in a small, charming house in a peaceful village. Although her life was full and serene, she always longed for a child to share her joy with. One day, she visited a well-known fairy in the village and expressed her wish. The fairy smiled and gave her a seed, telling her to plant it in a flower pot and take good care of it. The woman went home and followed the fairy's instructions. She planted the seed in the flower pot and tended to it daily. Before long, a small plant sprouted from the soil and quickly grew into a beautiful flower. One morning, as she leaned in to admire the flower, she was astonished to see a tiny little girl, no bigger than her thumb, nestled in the bloom. The woman named the tiny girl Thumbelina. Thumbelina lived happily in the woman's home. She made her a bed out of a walnut shell and spread a blanket made of rose petals. Thumbelina was cheerful and always sang sweet songs. The little birds in the trees also loved her and often came to listen to her sing. But one night, as Thumbelina was sleeping soundly in her flower bed, an ugly toad from a nearby swamp swam up and saw her. The toad thought Thumbelina would make a perfect wife for her son. She gently kidnapped Thumbelina and took her to the swamp. When Thumbelina woke up, she found herself in the middle of the damp, murky swamp. The toad placed Thumbelina on a lily pad so she couldn't escape while she prepared for the wedding. Thumbelina was terrified and cried a lot. Fortunately, some little fish swimming in the water heard her cries and bit through the stem of the lily pad, allowing it to float away. Thumbelina drifted along the stream and had many adventures. She met a kind ladybug, who helped her escape from some wicked beetles that wanted to keep her as a toy. Thumbelina traveled through flower fields, forests, and clear streams, living off the kindness of small animals and learning to protect herself. Winter came, covering everything in a blanket of snow, and Thumbelina was freezing with no shelter. One day, as she wandered lost in the snowy field, she found a small hole in the ground. It was the home of an old field mouse. The field mouse invited Thumbelina in, gave her food, and kept her warm. Thumbelina was grateful and stayed to help the field mouse throughout the winter. During that time, Thumbelina met a wealthy but cruel mole who lived nearby. The mole was captivated by Thumbelina's beauty and wanted to marry her. The field mouse thought it was a good opportunity for Thumbelina and advised her to accept. But Thumbelina couldn't bear the idea of living underground forever, never seeing the sunlight or hearing the birds sing. When spring arrived, Thumbelina decided to escape. One morning, she found an injured swallow in the mole's tunnel. Thumbelina cared for the swallow until it recovered. When the swallow was well again, it thanked Thumbelina and promised to help her escape. The swallow told Thumbelina to climb onto its back and took off into the bright blue sky. The swallow carried Thumbelina far away, over flower fields and forests. Finally, they reached a tiny kingdom, inhabited by people just like Thumbelina. Here, she met a handsome and kind tiny prince. The prince and Thumbelina quickly became close and fell in love. The prince proposed to Thumbelina and gave her a pair of wings so she could fly with him. Thumbelina agreed and became the princess of the tiny kingdom. She and the prince lived happily together, building a beautiful and joyous life. With the help of the prince, Thumbelina found her way back to the house of the woman who had planted the seed. Thumbelina and her mother were reunited, and the woman was overjoyed and happy. She is no longer lonely now. She has many friends who drink afternoon tea together. Thumbelina's story is one of resilience, faith, and hope for a bright future, despite the challenges and hardships she faced.
That's the end of the story. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you and subscribe channel please.